Hello guys, welcome back to our channel. I'm Keith from OrtoTech Garage, and today I've got something special for you. We're going to be doing the service on this 2024 Lexus LC 500. It's a bespoke model, custom interior, convertible, pretty special car, and I thought you guys might enjoy this. In this video, I want to take you through every step of a service on this car. We're going to start at the very beginning and take you all the way through the end. We're going to go ahead and show you all the tools you need. We're going to show you the materials that we're going to use to do this service. We're going to walk you through setting the tire pressures, doing a full inspection on the car, and even resetting the maintenance light on this vehicle so that you have all the steps. And if you're a do-it-yourselfer, this will be a great video for you. If you're just here for entertainment, enjoy the show. I can't wait to get started on this. Let's get this car into the garage and get going on it. Let's go ahead and pop the hood. All right, guys, let's get the hood open. I'm gonna put my gloves on. I don't want to get dirty doing this job. So the first thing I like to do is just get the oil cap off. That allows some air into the engine when we drain the oil. This way it'll come out smooth. Won't make too much of a mess, hopefully. I usually just rest this right up here on top of the engine, unless you think you're going to knock it off and knock it somewhere where you're not going to be able to get to it easily. Next thing I'll do is just kind of pull this dipstick up. I always do this. Just reminds me that we need to add some oil to this car. In the event you get tied up, somebody's calls your attention, you run away from the car, we don't want to forget to put oil in it. For me, that's been a universal indicator for over 35 years that I need to put some oil in the car. All right, guys, it's time to set this car up in the air so we can get to the underneath. There's a few lifting points in here. We just want to make sure that the lift tabs are engaging the lift points. We're ready to go up. Here we go. Guys, I like to stop the car right here, an inch or so off the ground. We give it a little shake just to make sure it's sturdy on the rack. Looks good. Before we get going, laid out all the tools we're going to need for this job. I've got my tire inflator. We're going to check the tire pressures and add if we need to. Got our oil filter cap wrench. This got a 1/2-inch drive on it, so we need to set our 1/2-inch ratchet inside of there to get the oil filter cap off. This is going to be a special pick we're going to use to get the O-ring off the oil filter cap. It's got a blunt end on it. It's not sharp at all, and it won't scratch the cap. You want to be careful that you don't scratch the cap and cause a leak around the oil filter O-ring. We've got a brand new oil filter, an O-ring, and also a new drain plug gasket. We're going to need a 14mm wrench. There it is, 14mm wrench to get the drain plug out. And we're also going to need a 10mm socket. And some kind of electric tool usually helps. We've got a few bolts to get out with that. This will make it fast and easy. Let's get underneath the car and get going. So here we are underneath the car. We've got a couple covers we've got to take off so we can access the oil filter and access the oil drain plug. So let's get these covers off. Got a few bolts underneath. And when we take this last bolt out, make sure you hold that cover up. It's made of tin. You don't want it to hit you in the face and cut you open. One more cover. That's going to access the drain plug. Go ahead and take a look. Oil filter. And the drain plug is over here. So I've got my oil filter drain bucket in here. It's got a little bit of mesh inside of here, so when this oil comes out, the car has been warmed up sufficiently, and when this oil comes out, it went on splashing everywhere. So inside of here has got a little bit of a mesh to stop that from happening. I'm going to use my 14mm wrench to put it on the drain plug, and I like to give a little bit of a slap here. So I just like to break the bolt loose, especially because this car is getting its first oil change. This is brand new. I'm just going to give it a little whack, and that's going to free it up. Okay. Now this is spin it out by hand, and what I want to do is I'm loosening this bolt, if you can see, and I'm holding it into the pan because I don't want this oil to spill out on me until I'm absolutely ready. So I'm going to position this drain plug. This oil drain plug is pointing in this direction, so I know the oil is going to squirt out maybe to my right. And I position this so it's a little bit further to my right because this oil is warm. So when I pull this out, I just want to drop the drain plug right in there. I don't want to make a mess. This is going to go fast. I'm holding it in right now, and I'm just going to let it go. Oh, there we go. So we're going to let this drain for a little bit. As it's draining, we can be checking the tire pressures. All right, guys, so we're going to set the tire pressure. If you look here on these Michelin Pilot Sports, the maximum pressure is 51 PSI, it looks like to me. I don't really want to go that high. We're probably going to set these tires right around 36 PSI. Inside the door jamb, there should be a decal. I'll tell you what the manufacturer recommends. Just based on our climate, it's summertime here in Las Vegas. I'm going to set these at 36 PSI. I think that's an appropriate pressure. Let's adjust the tire pressure. Looks like these tires are a little bit low. We're going to air them up to about 36 PSI, even though the door decal says 33. Right there, feels good to me. All right, guys. So the oil has been draining sufficiently probably the last 5 minutes or so while we check the tire pressures. If you notice, the old drain plug gasket is actually stuck on the oil pan. Sorry about the drop wrench there. We're going to pick this one off. We want to get it off of the pan. Oops, dropped the new one. So we got the old drain plug gasket out. I had to fish it out of the cover after I popped it off. We've got the new one here. We're going to go ahead and wipe off the surface of this drain plug. And I want to wipe the surface of this drain pan, make sure there's no dirt or anything on the mating surface where this gasket's going to sit. Okay? We're going to put the new gasket on the drain plug. Should fit nicely, no slack around it. This is the OE gasket from Lexus, so it should fit great. And then we're just going to put the new drain plug back in. It should thread in nicely, just with your fingers. It shouldn't require any work, no tools. It's going to run all the way in until it sits flat. And then we're going to get that wrench I just dropped on the floor. We're going to tighten this up. Okay, just make it a little bit snug right now. We're going to grab the torque wrench and we're going to torque this to the proper specification. For all of you YouTube experts out there, I just want to let you know that you really should be using a torque wrench. I'm going to double check what I tighten with the wrench with my torque wrench and we'll see how accurate it is. Looks good, on the money. So right here is our oil filter. There's a cap on here and a cartridge inside. So we're just going to use this tool. We're going to put it on the end of the cap and we're going to loosen this up counterclockwise. It's going to be a little tight, but it'll come. There it goes. All right, not too tight. Got a nice long ratchet here. We'll get our oil drain pan in place. As soon as we get past the O-ring seal, which sits right in here, this oil is going to start to leak out on us. And we're probably ready to use our hands on here and spin this out the rest of the way. I like to go nice and slow and see if I can get that oil draining right into the bucket without making a mess. There it goes. Okay, now very slowly, now that we lost it, I'm just going to tilt this filter upwards with my left hand so that oil can come out the bottom. And we're just going to hang tight here for a minute and let this thing drain so we don't make a huge mess. Some of this oil is going to stay in the cap. Some of it's going to stay inside the housing, which is attached to the engine. And let's just kind of see if we can do this without making a mess. That's usually my goal. Not to mention, this oil is pretty warm right now, and you don't want to burn yourself. All right, I've got my new oil filter, got my new O-ring. We're going to pick the old O-ring off of this housing. So like I told you before, this housing is aluminum, and if we have a very sharp pick and we don't use this blunt instrument, it's possible you could scratch the machine surface of this housing. So I'm very gently using this blunt instrument to pick that O-ring off. Here's the sealing surface. I don't know if you can see it well, but it's machined and it's very smooth. It has to be in order for this O-ring to seal properly, okay? Here's our new oil filter. I'll generally match it up to the old oil filter. Some of these Toyota's products will have different size filters that'll fit in the cup. You want to make sure you're putting the right one in there. If you put the wrong filter in, you're going to have a problem. okay? And you're not gonna filter the oil. The engine's gonna get rapid wear during the course of that oil change. And then the next guy that changes the oil is gonna say, hey, I had the wrong filter in there. Where the heck did you bring your car for an oil change? So make sure you match these guys up. They should be the same height or the same length, however you wanna say it. This hole here is just gonna slide onto this tube, which is somewhat spring-loaded. So make sure you kind of shove it on nicely and you get it seated all the way down, okay? And you can see here, it's a little bit spring-loaded, okay? That's the relief valve inside. So we just wanna make sure that you can seat it all the way before we put the new O-ring on. Well, I guess you could have put the new O-ring on first. It's up to you. I'm gonna open this bag up. I'm gonna try to open this bag up with these slippery hands. Okay, I'll get my trusty knife out. Okay, well, we've got our O-ring. Now, I take up here, just grab a little thin dab of oil. It should be fairly clean enough to do this, and I just like to run some oil along the O-ring, make sure it's lubricated. And then we're gonna check the surface one more time, maybe get your rag, if this looks dirty, and run it all the way through that machine groove. Make sure there's nothing sitting inside there before we put this O-ring on. When you put this on, you kind of want to bring it down flat, otherwise you're going to stretch it a little bit. We don't want to deform this O-ring too much where it doesn't seal properly on here. So I'll usually just take it and kind of work it around in a circle without going too far down at one time. And then we'll just kind of roll it down like that. Okay, now you've got a thin film of oil already on here. And I'm going to do one last thing. Up inside of this housing, I just want to give it a clean wipe, make sure there's no debris, because this in here, machine surface, is where the other side of this O-ring is going to be sealing inside this housing. Let's reinstall it. We're going to run this all the way in until it seats flat. And quite honestly, you don't want to go too much tighter than this. I've got it in by hand, it's run all the way in. This filter is not sealing by how tight you make this cap, it's sealing on the O-ring. The tightness is only so the cap doesn't work its way loose. Okay, so we're gonna grab that giant ratchet I've got and we're just gonna snug this up very gently. If you make this too tight, you're gonna cause some damage. You're not gonna be able to get it off next service. So just a little bit, it's only 18 foot-pounds, which is very little. And I know, again, everybody wants to see a torque wrench used. I do recommend that. For me, I've been doing this a really long time. I feel comfortable with my internal torque wrench. Thanks. Here's your two covers. This large cover is the one that covers the oil filter, and then this smaller cover is the one that covers the drain plug. Okay, this is a good time if you're unsure what you did. Maybe go back and double check your drain plug, come back and double check your tightness on your oil filter cap. Those things you definitely don't want to leave loose ever. That's dangerous. Let's go ahead and throw some covers on. So generally, once you have one bolt started in here, if you can get it in by hand, you can kind of let it go. Everything should hang kind of nicely without falling in your face. Working over your head sometimes like this can be challenging. If you're on your back in your driveway, it gets even more challenging. You don't want something like this to hit you in the face, poke you in the eye. Always wear your safety glasses. So I'm going to catch all these threads at least 2 turns. And they should all go in nicely by hand. If they don't, you need to stop, back the bolt back out. You're probably not going in straight. It's going to be going in crooked. And then if you use a tool like this, all you're going to do is cross thread it, and you're going to make it miserable for the next time you change your oil. So these are all started by hand. We're just going to snug them up. Now, these are small little bolts, 6mm bolts with a 10mm head on them. They don't need to be torqued to 500 foot-pounds. You know, every bolt on a car has a torque specification. If you're unsure and you want to do it 100% right, get yourself a torque wrench. You're going to need an inch-pound torque wrench, probably a 1/4 inch drive. You're going to need a foot-pound torque wrench for 3/8 drive and one for a 1/2 inch drive and probably one for 3/4 inch drive. If you got $1,500 you want to invest in torque wrenches, you can certainly torque every bolt on this car, okay? If you don't have those things, a little common sense goes a long way. Small bolts don't require a ton of torque on them, okay? So these are not bolts that go in this back cover. These are screws. And screws are designed a little bit different than a bolt. You're not going to be able to turn them in by hand. They're going to take a little extra effort. They're threading into a plastic fitting up there. So I would say these even less torque than the bolts that we used on the front cover. Okay, just barely snug. They're not going to fall out. They're hard to get in the first place because they're threading into plastic, which is very tight, especially on this car. It's fairly new. Now we've pretty much got the oil change underneath items taken care of. The covers are back on, the drain plug's tight, the oil filter housing's tight, new O-rings installed, new oil filters installed. We put air in the tires. I want to complete the inspection on this car before we let it down and finish. Everything underneath should be looked at. So we're always looking at brakes. Inside of here, we can usually peek in and take a look at the brake linings through the wheels. You've got a lot of room in here we can see. If we come around to the back side, it's going to get a little more difficult to see, especially with these calipers. But what I'll usually do is, if you can look in here, I can stick my hand up in here and I can feel the brake pad. Okay, so I'm sticking my hand in this hole. I can actually feel the brake pad in here. So I can tell it has plenty of brakes on it. If the pads were very thin, I would be able to feel that, and I'd say maybe we should pull the wheels off and do a proper brake inspection. I'm going to be looking at the struts. I'm going to be looking at suspension linkage. We've got all kinds of items in here. We've got sway bar links and sway bars and bushings, control arms. On the same thing on the other side, tie rod ends, steering rack, bellows, boots, brake hoses. So usually when I'm working on a car like this, I've done a lot of these, so I try to just briefly go through all of these items and see if anything looks out of place, okay? Especially on a car that's very new like this, I'm not expecting to find anything. It's got very low miles on it, and it should be in excellent condition. A lot of times, if I'm looking for any kind of steering or suspension problems, I want to shake the wheels a little bit. So you might want to just give them a wiggle inside and outside, from the front to the back. Make sure we don't have any loose suspension parts like tie rod ends, possibly ball joints, maybe bushings in the control arms, which will be common on this car, I'm sure, once it's got 120,000 miles on it. Let's go to the back of the car and see what else we can find. So here at the midsection of the car, we've got the transmission oil pan right here. There's a couple of bolts on the drain pan. One's a fill plug, one's a check plug. If you want to check the level on it, you're going to need a special procedure for that. You'll have to run the car, get it to a particular temperature using a scan tool. You want to see what the transmission fluid temperature is, and then we're going to pull the check plug and see if any fluid pours out or drips out or nothing comes out. I'm not going to perform that on this inspection right now. This car has only got a few thousand miles on it, but that's how it would happen. Looking at the exhaust, we've got catalytic converters here. We're checking the O2 sensors. We're looking for damage more than anything on a car like this that's this new. I would not expect to see anything wrong with this exhaust system. As we move to the back of the car, we've got a rear differential here. This rear differential has CV joints and axle boots connected to it. I don't know if you can see anything in here, but they're up in here. Half shafts on both sides of the car. Again, we're looking at brakes, we're looking at bushings. Okay, this has all kinds of suspension bushings on it. We want to take a peek at those and make sure that there's nothing wrong. They're not split, cracked, loose, broken. Peeking on the brakes on both sides. And of course, you want to look at the tires. Let's take a peek here. You can see these tires have a lot of tread on them. Again, with the mileage, you wouldn't expect to see anything wrong with these tires just yet. All right, I think we're ready now to let this car down and finish the work up top. We'll inspect a couple of things under the hood, and we're going to add some oil. We're going to check the level. We'll run it, and then we'll double check the level again. Let's do it. Now that we've got the car back on the ground, we're going to add some oil. This car takes quite a bit, a little bit over 9 quarts with a filter change. I really like this funnel a lot. This is not necessary, but saves you some headaches from maybe spilling some oil anywhere. I certainly don't recommend the old school method, especially with these big jugs that Mobil 1 has with a wide spout on it. It's kind of hard to pour these things and not make a mess everywhere. A car like this, the last thing you want to do is drip any oil anywhere. It's going to make a mess. It's going to start smoking when you drive it. Let's be real careful not to get any oil anywhere. This tool is pretty cool because it has a cap that matches the thread size for this Toyota. This set actually has one for just about every car, but this one in particular for Toyota Lexus products, this will screw in like a regular oil cap does with the seal on it, so that way when we put oil in here, this stays in by itself, and when we put oil in, none of the oil is going to leak out. Even if it backs up into the filter, we've got enough room inside this funnel where that's not going to be a problem. So let's go ahead and see if we can add 9 quarts. These Mobil 1 jugs are 5 quarts of oil. So we're going to need almost a full 2 of these for this Lexus. So when you're adding oil to these, it's better to underfill it than overfill it. We don't want an overfull crankcase. It'll cause oil to push out in places that don't belong. I've seen cars with so much oil in them that the engine starts smoking out the tailpipe, and it's possible to hydrolock the engine if you have, double the amount of oil in there that belongs in there. So it's really important that you don't overfill it. Obviously, don't want to underfill it either. Spec says 9.1 quarts, I believe, and we're going to go 9 quarts, and then we're going to run it, check it, and we'll see if it needs a little bit more. If you're unaware, these jugs have markings on them. It'll mark all 5 quarts, so you can kind of fill a little bit and then take a peek. I don't know if you'll be able to see, but it has all the markings on it. This side says liters, this side says quarts. So if you can hold this level, when we get down to this level, that means we got 1 quart left in the jug, so we still got about another quart, maybe 1.2 quarts left to pour in here before we get to 9. There we go, about a quart left or so in there. Put that off to the side. Take our filter out. Make sure you don't drip anything. I like to wipe the surface where the cap seals on here. The oil cap has an O-ring on it that's going to seal against the mating surface of the valve cover or the filler neck. So make sure you wipe that off like we did on the drain plug. We're going to thread that in and snug it up. Don't over tighten it, just a little snug. Let's go ahead and check the oil level right now before we start the car. Dip it all the way down, wipe it off. We're going to dip it all the way down one more time, and we're going to see where it sits. All right, so this oil is super clean and hard to see where it's at. But right now, it's showing maybe just a tad on the overfull side. I really actually see it all the way up in maybe this range right above the upper dot. It should be between the 2 dots on the bottom of this dipstick. So let's go ahead and run it. We'll let it settle and we'll see where it sits. We want to run this car for about 20 to 30 seconds, let the oil circulate well, and then give it another 20, 30 seconds for the oil to drain back down into the pan, and then we'll check the level. Let's check this oil one more time now that we've let it run and we've let it settle. Pull it out, wipe the stick off completely, all the way down to the bottom of the pan, all the way out, lay it flat. Let's see where our oil level is at. So I'm seeing us just a hair right there at the full mark. So that should be perfect. We'll check it one more time. Beautiful. We're right to the full mark. We're not going to add any more oil to this car. We're in great shape. So I know we did the inspection underneath the car, checking all the components that are available to us from below. On the top, there are some items that are available to us as well. There's some air filters. There's going to be fluids under here. We want to check maybe under here, look at the engine coolant. This has the special Toyota coolant in there, pink in color. It looks full right now. Also over here we have brake fluid. This brake fluid should be about a clear to yellow in color. When it starts to get brown or black, it's going to need some service. That'll usually take a long time on a Toyota like this, a Toyota product I should say. This is a Lexus. Underneath these covers are the air filters. We can pull that apart and take a peek at them. They should be perfectly clean. With 2,700 miles on this car, there's no reason they should need to be changed. If you come around here, I can show you the washer fluid. The washer fluid goes in here. This is the indicator of a windshield and then water squirting on it. Nothing goes in here but washer fluid. You'll fill it right here. So I want to show you guys the process of checking the air filters on this. It does have dual air filters, one on each side. Let's pop one off so at least you know how to get access to it. And then if you want to check that on your own, you're more than welcome to. We've got a bunch of little clips on here. Most of these clips work in a way that you're just going to push them down. If you just click them down, it's going to open them up. And then we can pull them all out one at a time. Okay, and then these covers, oh, there they go. These covers should come right off once the clips are loose. There's one more underneath this other cover. We'll probably have to release. It sits underneath it. Let's see what I can get under here. Okay, and then this cover should come off. Okay, inside of here is where your air filter is going to be. I'm going to put these in my pocket so we don't lose them. So these two clips, I'm going to release. The air filter should pull up out of this. Okay, so this is going to be the dirty side of the air filter. It's always going to face the intake flowing through the radiator or through the ductwork underneath. So we want to check this side. If I take this filter out, you see it has a particular shape to it. These pleats here are what's going to trap the dirt, not this side. Okay, so you always want to make sure when you install this side is going in to the airflow, and then the clean side is coming out into this snorkel and into the engine. These air filters are great. Nothing wrong with them, as I suspected. Sorry, putting that in backwards. Okay, we're ready to reinstall the cover. Make sure all the little clips along the sides, they snap into place, and then we can take the rest of our clips. We're going to have to reset all of these, so if you can get in close here, I want to show you. They get a little bit tricky. Oh, these Toyota clips are easy to get out and not so easy to get back. So we need to push this little pintle in so this thing sticks up. And what I usually do, I like to push against something like this so that it sticks up high and above the clip. Okay, if you do that, you'll be ready to reinstall them. Give them a little squeeze at the bottom because they have to fit in these holes. Once they're in, you can push it flush. If you push it too hard, it's going to go all the way through and release again. So we want to see the top sit flush. Again, that's below the top. Okay, that's above the top, and then flush is going to look like this. Okay. These clips are really nice because they're so new. They're not too stiff, and they're not requiring a lot of effort to reset them, which is great. Make sure you line up these holes good, or there's going to be trouble getting these little fingers in here. I don't know if you can see, there's 4 fingers on each one. If you get them to spread out when you're trying to put it through the hole, it makes it impossible to put it through. So we're going to reset them, squeeze these in a little bit, and then set them in the holes, make sure everything is lined up. Okay, squeeze them in. And sometimes you need to give it just a little bit of a twist maybe. Get all 4 of those fingers to sit down through both holes. There you have it. You could repeat the process on the other side. Like I said, not enough miles in this car to worry about it. I knew they would be clean. Just wanted to show you the process, so if you want to do it yourself, you know what to do. All right, we finished up our oil change. Everything is taken care of. We got all our inspections done. Last thing we need to do is reset that maintenance light. I do want to show you how to close the hood on this car. You don't want to slam this one. It is a carbon fiber hood. It's very expensive. So you really just want to pull this thing down gently. Once you get it lower to the latch, okay? Maybe take a nice towel like this one, soft microfiber, and then all you need to do is just give it a little click, okay? If you do anything more than that, you don't want to slam this hood. This thing is probably thousands of dollars. I couldn't tell you how much it costs, but I know it's not cheap. Okay, guys, one of the last things we need to do is reset the maintenance reminder on this car. We're going to need to turn the vehicle to the on position. We're going to go into the settings. We want to go down to the vehicle settings, select that. We want to scroll until we get down to scheduled maintenance. We're going to select that. And then it's going to ask us if we want to reset the data. We're going to say yes and select that. Now we've reset our maintenance reminder light on this vehicle. Pretty easy. All right, guys. Well, that's a wrap. We've successfully changed the oil on this Lexus. I really hope you enjoyed the demonstration. Maybe you learned something. Give you a little bit of insight of what we do here in the garage and how this works, and maybe challenge you to take care of your car on your own and see if you can complete an oil change without any major hassles or troubles. just wanted to take you for a ride in this car. This thing is, it's very unique, and it's a lot of fun to drive. The interior of this is like a yacht. And I do want to give a special shout out to Kimberly for letting us use her car for this demonstration. It was really nice of her to have her do that and let us test drive it. It's a blast, a fun car to drive. What else can you say? It's a Lexus, beautiful. Thanks for joining us. I hope we see you in the next video. We're gonna have some more content for you guys. Check the next box up here. We're gonna have some amazing videos for you guys to see.